And we're back. Now, I'm just doing a little bit of a modification down here on this. I want to install some battery banks so that this has a turn on and turn off section. And I'm replacing these tiles here with diamond. I'm just going to do it diagonally so that I don't lose any of the water in there. And at the same time, I'm just cleaning up my power grid. I'm just reconnecting little bits here and there so that I can get all these wires out a little bit more easily. So I'll connect those there like that. And then we can, once that's connected, I can disconnect it from here. And I basically want to get all of these wires out of here. I've only got two spare wires on this plug socket, and we're going to be using both of them for the oxygen setup I've got planned. So I'm just going to skip forward a bit until all this power grid is nicely ironed out. So this is the design that Nicholas Rodriguez suggested in the comments. I really like the look of this one. Now I did a bit of play testing with it and it didn't work out perfectly. It wouldn't give me at exactly 3 kilos per second constantly, and there was a few glitches, so I modified it slightly. So this is the variant I'm going to be going with. This is one of the ones I mocked up, and I tested this, and it seems to be working quite well. So this is what we're going to be implementing. So now we've got a nice little clean power grid, and I've got these two wires free to go off. Probably should have drawn from the rear here a little bit earlier. But, and also this now has a battery shut off, so it'll only kick in and out onto the grid when it needs to. Just helps prevent overloads and make sure we recycle all the power coming out of that steam turbine when it does actually turn on. We're going to be putting a lot more heat strain on this in the near future, so I want to be prepared. Now, oxygen setup wise, I've decided I'm going to set it up over here. Since I already know the size of the design, this makes things a lot simpler. Now we'll get rid of all these guys. Yep, you can all go. Dope. Did I trap some people? I think I trapped some people. Ooh. Okay, dupes. I'm going to need you to prioritize some of these. So say you and you. Oh, I've also trapped them this side. Yep, that's a good start to the day. Let's put one there. Make that a priority 6 as well. Where are you going? How the... You know what? Let's cancel that for the moment. And cancel that. Come on, some of you dupes got to be able to get out of there. Actually, yeah. Perfect. Now we've got an actual way out. Worst case scenario, I could have dismantled all the blocks and they would have just fallen down to the next level. Wouldn't have liked to do that, but worst case scenario, if you get into that, you can actually sort yourself out that way. Now, what was this? This is going to be 14 by something. It's 13. So 14. So we're going about there. Yeah, I'm actually quite excited to use this design. I've tried a few times to build a 3 kilo per second oxygen production facility, like a self-powered oxygen maker, but I've never actually got one to work properly. I tried a bunch of things, they never worked out. This one just seems so simple. Now, where's it that puffed? Yeah, someone was telling me I had a puff trapped in here somewhere in one of these mesh tiles. Don't seem to see one. I tried looking for it afterwards, but sometimes these videos come out. I work shifts, so I usually try and get about 3 or 4 videos done in a session. So sometimes, and then I have to do all the work on them afterwards to actually get them ready for upload. So there's usually a gap between when I get the comments and when I've already made the videos. Now, ventilation wise, let's go with, I'm just going to go with gold amalgam. That's all we need for this. Yeah, I'll put you there. So 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14. Nice. Now, airflow tiles. I'll go, I think it's here. Then more airflow. Nope, I'm off. The joys of new designs. Oh yeah, there. Fine, that's that. Then cancel that, cancel that. Yeah, I think that's what we're looking for. And then we're gonna have our electrolyzers up here and here. One second, let me think. Ah, yes, I have 9 gas pumps. That would explain why it's like this. Yeah, that's why I'm not getting a proper evening out. There. Another tile there. Am I missing one? No. One more airflow tile. Then we're going to need our automation in here. This is going to be our Atmos sensors for the bottom fans. Now, one down there. and one across here. Perfect. Once that's done, I can start building the scaffold. For walls, I'm probably going to use insulated tiles, but no need to get those down just yet. Don't need to wall it in. I want it full access so my duplicates can get in and out nice and easily. Actually, yeah, I'll insulate that tile there. Want to make this nice and symmetrical, and yeah, I don't need that tile insulated. Okay, this actually looks really simple to build. I think I might actually use this as my default design early on. I mean, even if you don't use the 3 kilos, I mean, having the option to do it at any point would be quite nice. And see, you go there. Right up here, and you can go to the front. These two, actually, you can go up here. You can go at this side as well. Perfect. Actually, we'll put all 3 of them together. Oh, I'm going to have to change the ends of those to insulated. Yeah, this whole thing is going to be giving off heat of about 70 degrees. Yeah, oxygen, electrolyzers. One here, and one here, and one here. Another door. I just put in the doors because it makes it, well, easier to get around. Now, I'm messing up here slightly. Where is our ventilation pumps? Ventilation pump goes right there. Now we're going to need a ceiling on this sucker. Leave that open. So one tile here. Perfect. Yeah, that's pretty much the bulk of it. Now all we need to do is get in some of the infrastructure. Plumbing, liquid pipes. I'm actually just going to go with regular pipes here. Actually, let's make them out of granite for this part. To at least give off some chill. Well, hopefully keeping it below 70 degrees. So it's water. Now we're going to need power. For power, we're going to go with conductive wire. And I will have all the gas fans or the gas pumps on one line. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have all the electrolyzers themselves on a second line, just in case of any power cuts. I'd like to have them both separate. There we go. So that's power, water, ventilation. Okay, that was far less painful than I thought it was going to be. Well, I haven't turned it on yet. Now I'm going to need somewhere to burn off the hydrogen. Right now, my hydrogen's been burnt off in powering this, but I'm going to plug this into the actual main grid. So I need to actually, you know what, let's get some more rock tiles here. I've been switching over to sedimentary for these because I have lots of sedimentary and I've been using the igneous rock for a lot of things. So I've actually got more sedimentary rock now than I have igneous. It's just the way the biomes have shaken out for me. What am I going to do here? So I can chuck about 3 or 4 hydrogen generators on top here. I think for every 16, yeah, I'm going to need about 100 grams. So I'm going to need about 3 generators just to keep up with this sucker. 4 if I max it out. We'll stick with 3 to start. And then I'll probably plug that into my main grid. Where is the nearest main grid? Yeah, I'll probably just run a cable all the way along here, which means I'm probably going to want to start, you know, next time I do this, I'm going to offset the ladder segments so I can build the floors a lot easier. Instead of having to Swiss cheese like this, I'll just have the ladder segments up 2 tiles, and then I can actually just build the floors without having to actually deconstruct anything. And then I can deconstruct the ladders using the floors I've already built. But I am going to need at least an area for the hydrogen generators to sit on. Actually, I'm probably going to need an insulated area for the hydrogen generators to sit on. The generators will heat up to about 70 degrees because that's the hydrogen I'm going to be feeding into it. Now, so insulated tiles around them, and that should seal in the heat, and I'll let the actual hydrogen coming out of here cool down the area. So right about there. Let's get some power up and running. Hydrogen generator, please. Gold amalgam. Perfect. So 1, 2. We're going to put a third one right about there. And finish off the tiles here. Now, all right, so we have 3 generators. That should be plenty. Then I'm going to want to insulate the sucker in. 1, 2, 3. You know what? Small room's fine. Now, for power, I'm actually going to run a nice, long, heavy conductive wire. I'm just going to plug this directly into my main grid. Later on, I'll be ripping all of this out, and I'll be using the hydrogen for my hydrogen rockets, but for the time being, I need somewhere to dump it. And this is going to be my dumping ground. Now, I should maybe run actually, I am going to run an emergency pipe off of here. Basically, something I can hook up to, well, siphon off hydrogen if I need it for, say, something along the lines of, well, rooms that are going to need to be filled with hydrogen. Now, so what we'll do is we'll run that up to there. This will be the overflow. Comes down here, plugs into these suckers. Actually, we'll have a third one right about there. Perfect. Now all we need to do is run the cable over here. Now for that, I'm going to need a bunch of statues to counteract all the negative decor. And yeah, finish off you there. Cancel those. Actually, I should leave space for a fourth generator. You know what? I'm never going to be building a fourth generator here. I'm going to be long away from this before I put in the fourth one. Use that there for now and run the cable down. Okay. Yeah, we're also going to deconstruct some of this junk. You and you can go. You, and you. Just try not to trap any duplicates out there again. Okay, now all I need is about a bajillion marble statues just to make sure that that doesn't cause any decor problems for my duplicates. We got granite. Oh, turn off that overlay. Perfect. And then on top of that, I'm going to have to run the power cables to actually run this whole section. And I'm going to have to wire the oxygen into my main grid. Okay, so not the simplest things in the world left to do. But first off, let's hook up the plumbing. That should be a relatively straightforward task. Now, let's try and avoid all the plants, shall we? Yeah, there we go. Yep, there's all the water from my cool steam vents coming down. Oh, one thing, I did some calculations. I worked out all the water outputs of all my geysers. I think it's about 5.4 kilos per second is what it's worked out at, which is, well, really, really, really nice, actually. So that means I could support about, I think I worked it out about something like 49 duplicants. I could support 49 duplicants with the amount of water I have, which is, well, way better than my last playthrough. I think that's just down to the cool steam vent or the cool slush geyser. Now, actually, I'm just going to run this straight up through here. To the side and then right up the plastic ladder system. Actually, I might want to put a few bridges here and there just to make sure, because I'm probably going to be cutting a few of these off. In fact, I'm going to put bridges at every corner, just on the off chance that I need them. One also there. One here. Okay, now we need to cancel. Yeah, perfect. Get rid of you, you, you. Alright, that should give us a decent supply of water. Then on top of that, I'm going to have to plug this into my current oxygen system. That's a little bit trickier. If we check my oxygen setup, I kind of pushed it in pretty quick, so I didn't really plan for the expansion of it. So this could get a little bit messy. Actually, before I do that, extract pipe contents. Can you do that to hydrogen? If I extract that, is it going to put it in bottles or is it going to release gas into the atmosphere? Let's find out. And let's hope it's not horrible. Actually, how's our fish tank doing? 113. And there's a fish still trying to escape. No, we blocked you in, buddy. So that should empty that. Now, so it's time to start running the gas pipes over. Actually, I got that just about right. Ventilation. Oh, first off, I'm going to have to run this system. When I say run it, I mean run it until it's clean. And for that, we are just going to dump that atmosphere right out. For the top one, actually, yeah, for the top one, it's going to be the same thing. I'm just going to dump the lot of it. Then once it's all actually emptied, I mean, I'm going to end up dumping a bunch of hydrogen out here. I'm not going to care too much. My gas pressure is good. It'll float up to somewhere and I'll eventually get rid of it. But for the time being, once you start these up, it's a bit like the other version. You have to run it for a while to clean it out and make sure that it's running clean. Once that happens, it should remain clean. Or well, it did in testing anyway. Now, we're also going to want to run power wires up here. I have, where are they? Ah, yes, we have these two suckers over here. These were the two candidates. Wow, this is getting really, really, really sluggish. How many wires do I have? Whoa, okay, I have a lot of wires already going up there. Let's burrow across these two lines. So you there and there, and we'll put another one here and here. Ooh, that is getting so sluggish. I have plans to add on more duplicants in a short bit, and I'm already regretting that choice. It's only going to get slower and slower. Well, it's probably to do with just the stupid amount of infrastructure I lay down. It's probably not good for the frame rate. You up to there, and we'll have the second one. We'll just run you parallel. Perfect. And we're going to iron 27 tons. Yeah, we're sorted. You can go up here. Oh, great. Any more we're going to need to jump? Any? Actually, where are we? Oh, yeah, we're there. What am I doing? You've gone too far. Back those down, and instead we're going to want power jumpers over here, or bridges, I should say. Actually, it's much easier to build when the game is paused. Currently, when I try and actually do anything when the game is active, it feels so sluggish. Actually, we're going to go around you. We want to keep that. And we're not going to hook you up just yet. I hooked up the second one. Nope, didn't. So that should give us power. This should give us a way to dump out the gases. And these suckers here should counteract a horrible negative decor from that wire. Not inside this area itself, but this I'm going to be sealing off. Actually, I might as well get around to putting in a door right about now. For that. Oh, yeah, you can't do that, can you? You can't place doors where these heavy wires go. Eek, forgot about that. Yeah, I'll break it up. It's fine. We'll put a... Actually, no, I don't need a door there either. Yeah, well, that's the basics of it ironed out. I'm just going to cut forward until this most of this construction project is complete and we're ready to go. Oh, Arnon in the comments pointed out I made a mistake here. This does not have preferential flow. In fact, it's the complete opposite. This will only feed on if there's no natural gas coming down from up there. So I need to deconstruct that, and I need to place the gas bridge on the opposite side. I just need to do it really, really carefully and time it out quite really well. Otherwise, I'll accidentally let natural gas into my vacuum again, which, well, for the first time, but that would also be bad. So it turns out they do actually put out gas bottles on the ground. As you can see them there, there's just a big line of little hydrogen bottles, all a kilo in size. So I'm just cleaning out the last of the lines all the way back to these 3 gas tanks of hydrogen I've got stored up over here. That way I can deconstruct these pipes. I am going to have to be redoing my oxygen grid in a wee bit, so I do want to have everything tidied up so that I can maneuver with maximum capacity. I'll just deconstruct you all the way back to there. So I'm basically going to be reversing it. I'm going to be pulling in the oxygen from this side, and I'm going to be running it through here. And I'm probably going to get another 8 duplicants and go up to 24. So I'm not sure if I'm going to stick in 12 exosuit docks per section or put in 8 and put in a third floor of exosuit exits. Yeah, we'll find out in a bit once the actual construction project is complete. We're still waiting on a few pipes and some of the a few of the pipes here need to be finished, and all these extra commands I'm giving are not helping. Anyway, I'll fast forward a little bit more now. Yeah, we're almost ready to fire this up. I just got to seal in the edges of it. Now, if we look here, let's see, ventilation. All of these are just being pumped out here. So we've got the potential for 3 kilos of oxygen at the bottom. The hydrogen comes at the top, and we've got the potential for, well, each one of these produces 122 grams. We're not going to get a full 500 grams a second, but we'll get pretty close. So this is about as efficient as it gets. Now, for automation wise, these 3 pumps on the left are hooked up to this. These 3 pumps on the right are hooked up to that. Now, honestly, this isn't going to make too much of a difference. This is more of an on-off switch that I can control more than anything else. This one up here, they're set to 250 grams. These one, both of them, and these ones down here are set to 450. So in testing, this is what I ended up using because it helps stabilize the gas pressures near the end. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to vacuum this sucker out. I'm not even going to bother trying to mess around, and it's quite simple to do because I've got all the gas pumps hooked up to one power cable. So that should immediately start up or it should immediately start it up. What's wrong? If the pressure's above 450. Actually, let's make that 0 grams. We're going to make a vacuum here, and we'll copy those settings to all 4 of them. And that should quickly vacuum that all out. Now I'm going to use we're going to use the gas overlay. So the gas overlay here should give us a good idea of when the hydrogen is reached in here. We want this whole top area here to fill up with hydrogen. In fact, all this row of tiles across here. And the bottom of it is going to be all oxygen. Now I've done some testing. At the end I'll show you some of the testing I did just to make sure this would work correctly and wouldn't end up with hydrogen packets going out the wrong fans or gas pumps. I call the fans gas pumps all the time. But these 6 gas pumps down here should only ever remove oxygen, except at the start. At the start, it's going to be a bit of a mess until everything stabilizes. And this one up the top here should only remove hydrogen. Now, I'll just jump back to you in a few moments there once this is all vacuumed out. Okay, so we've got this sucker all vacuumed out. If we check here, nothing left inside. I'm going to set this so no duplicates can go in and out. I don't want any of them getting in there at all. And now what we're going to do is we're going to fire this up. And I'm going to keep the gas overlay open so you can keep an eye on it as it goes. Actually, I want to make sure everything's out of there. Are we empty? Yeah, we're good. Water, all good to go. So, conductive wire, hook it up, crack open the gas overlay. Now this is going to get messy. I'm going to slow it down a bit at the start. The hydrogen's not going to quite pop up all up here like that. The pink purpley stuff, I don't know if you call it pink or purple, that's the hydrogen. We want all that to accumulate at the top. Actually, I'm going to set these to 250 here. Copy the settings over. So those two are going to be at 250. These ones are going to be at 450. And then we're going to let these suckers run. As you can see, the oxygen is still getting in there. It'll take a while before we iron all that out, and some of the hydrogen is going to get pumped out the top. But I'm okay with that for now. I just want to get the system stabilized. Let's speed this up a bit. So I think in testing, this took about half a cycle for it to actually even itself out, before all the gases found where they wanted to be, so to speak. One packet of hydrogen got out the side here. Yeah, that looks like something that would almost induce a seizure if you weren't aware it was coming. Probably should put a seizure warning on this one. But yeah, this will run for a while until it all stabilizes out. In fact, I might want to turn this to, you know what? I'm just going to leave it at 250. It'll take a little bit longer. I could tweak this a bit by turning this pressure sensitivity down so it wouldn't pump so much. That would let the hydrogen accumulate more. But for the time being, I think I'm just going to let this sucker run and see how long it takes before it sorts itself out. So I'll just put this on a bit of fast forward so you can see how it works, because this is one of the ones I get the most questions on. They try and start up their electrolyzer, and when they do, it doesn't work correctly. It keeps messing up. You really have to run the system until it's clean. You just have to run it until all the gas is stabilized and all the pressure ends up where it's supposed to be. These high pressure gas vents make that very easy. When you're setting up your early ones, the ones we set up at the very beginning of the game, those ones you're not going to have access to high pressure gas vents. You're just going to have to use gas tanks. I'm sure there's probably an easier way to set this up, but I've done a few hours of testing on this, and honestly, I needed to get around to getting this episode done and dusted and up. So here we are. That's it. She's good. You notice there, it's all hydrogen all the way across the top. It's all oxygen all the way across the bottom. So all we're going to do here is we are going to cut off the flow of the electrolyzers. So let's grab the power overlay, and we are going to deconstruct that. Let's crack open the power layer for now while we wait for the duplicates to come along. Now, I engineered this, or well, I wouldn't say I engineered this. This was engineered by Nicholas. But I tested this, and if I do disconnect the power from this, what will happen here is the electrolyzers will stop running, and eventually the gas pumps will stop pumping. And about that point, we should even out. Once this stops pumping, it should, yeah, there we go. So all the gas pumps have stopped. Hydrogen's still full up there, so we can turn this back on again at any point, and we're good to go. This was just a warm-up to get it started. Now, let's see. All right. In that case, we can get rid of this high-pressure gas vent. We don't need that anymore. Once we turn this on again, we'll be using it to pump gas into our actual base. All this hydrogen here is going to escape up the top. It'll eventually flow up to the top of the map over here somewhere, up in the top right. Bit of a waste. I probably should have put it in gas containers, but I really just wanted to get this up and running. Now, over here, I've decided in the end I'm going to go with 12 exosuits docks. So an extra 4 up here, an extra 4 down here. Now I'm going to have 3 1 kilo oxygen lines coming through. So I'm going to have oxygen going into 8 of these. So one pipe's going to feed the first 8. One pipe's going to feed these 8 down here. And then the 8 in the middle I'm going to have fed by the last pipe. So I'm probably going to have one gas pipe coming through here and one gas pipe coming along the bottom. And I'm probably going to have to get rid of this. Yeah, I'm going to have to get rid of that plant. You know what? I've got plenty of them out there now, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But this does mean I have to deconstruct a bunch of stuff, which means these aren't going to be charging very well for a while. So I'm going to want to do this very, very quickly. So deconstruct all of this. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, I'm also going to want to put in a gap here so that I can bring in the oxygen. One there, there, there. And is it natural gas? Yeah, that's natural gas coming down, so that will go the opposite direction. Now I'm going to need another. Ooh, I'm going to need another one here. So one there, there, and all right. And I'm also going to need the one that goes across the top. So same again. Oh, wrong button. And there we go. Then I can bring gas pipes to across the top and the bottom. Actually, I'm going to pause this and rush build these. We're going to deconstruct you. And then I'm going to build these backwards. From here, we're going to go. You're going to go from there, and you're going to go from there. How do I get them across? You know what? There's 1, 2. Oh, come on. We'll go around you. And I'll just insulate the last few chunks of that. Yeah, that should work. Now, I still am going to have to delete some of these segments here to allow the gas pipes through. This will go through here. Okay, I've already made a mistake. We're going to cancel that. Now, some people don't want to. I'm going to explain this. Some people don't like to break up or basically they just run the gas pipes straight through the middle of these. And you can do that and get away with it. The problem is if you fall behind on oxygen production, or even for a minute, it can cause these to have a problem catching back up again. It leads to too much confusion. Now, actually, I'll leave the ventilation up. What we're going to do here, let's zoom in. Actually, we'll have the first 4 fed by priority, and then the second 4 fed that way. Insulated, thank you very much. So that will go there, that will go there, there, there. And all the overflow will go to the next set of suits. And then the rest of it, I'm just going to dump through here. Just regular gas pipes do fine. I'm going to dump it through here and reverse this whole system. But this should get my, this should at least get, missed one. This should get this 8 exosuit docks up and running. Once they're up and running, we'll start on the next set. And then once the second set are up and running, I can put in the third. Ooh. Yeah, this is going to take a while, isn't it? Let's hope I have enough oxygen in those exosuits. Well, they're all fully stocked already, so it's just a case of, yeah, they've all got full charges, you see. So there shouldn't be any problems there with getting these, well, with these running out of oxygen anytime soon. I'll just skip this forward a bit. Ooh, 1 second. We're going to want to get rid of these pipes. Yeah, you can all go. How are we doing on the rest? No, we're still missing a bunch of the rest of them. All right, those 2 can go. Yeah, I'll just skip this forward until we're ready to plug in the first set of suits. Yeah, so I created a little high priority build here to make sure this bottom layer got done first, and the difference you're about to hook it up. Now, one thing I made sure of when I created this system, well, modified the system, was that it doesn't matter which, if only 2 pumps are running, 4 pumps are running, or 6. It doesn't matter at all. It will still stabilize out. So if you look here, you notice the hydrogen is still staying up here, even though we're only drawing oxygen from this side. Well, that's the theory. Let's see if it lasts a few hundred cycles. Now, so this is just going to flow down here. Ooh, that is getting very chuggish. I have a lot of gas pipes. So this will flow down here and flow into our 8 exosuit ducts. This one is going to flow across here and flow into these 8 exosuit ducts, and then I'm going to have the middle one here feed the extra 8 exosuit ducts I'm going to put in here. 4 here, 4 here, and I am going to have to get around to building. Ooh, I'm going to have to get around to building an exosuit forge. I haven't actually built one. I dismantled my old one, so I'll have to replace that as well. But what I'm going to do now is, well, we're going to demolish this. Once that piping is all complete, I'm going to demolish this section and basically repeat the same thing again. This whole oxygen pipe here, I think, can go. Yeah, it's gone. And we can also get rid of that gas vent. Don't need it anymore. That was just there to provide a lot of high pressure here at the very start when I wanted to make sure that none of the gases outside got in. But as you can see at the moment, the pressure out there is pretty good. Now, all of this oxygen is hot. I'm pumping in hot oxygen into my base. I know that seems bad, but we have plans to deal with that. Uh, Not just now, but I'm going to deal with it after I've finished with the oxygen setup. I don't really care about pumping 70-degree oxygen into my base. The reason being, I don't have crops. In fact, I'm not producing any of my food in here at all. There's nothing. So because I have no crops in here, it doesn't really matter how hot my base gets. The only thing that matters is that these hanging pots might get wilted. That's it. That's the only downside to having my base get too. Ooh, wrong one. New printables. What do we got? I don't even want no all mass breeders. We'll go with the coal. How much coal we got? Uh, Consumable ores. We have 601 tons of coal. Yeah, so we're looking pretty good on the coal front. Oil down here, also looking pretty good. I haven't restricted the flow on this yet. I'm going to wait until I get my oxygen done before I do that, and I'm still pouring in a little bit from there. Actually, this is set to 4,000 gram. Let's set that to 4,500. Actually, no, 4,000 is working out. We'll leave it at 4,000. And my critters down here, how are they doing? We got 7, 8. Wait, how is there 8 critters in there? There should never. Oh, there's an egg. Uh, yeah, 7 critters, and 6 critters. Eggs also count for a critter count. That's why the critter sensor shows up such. That's why the critter sensor is not perfect. Now, and let's check in our fish one more time. This is probably the most fun experiment I've done on this place. I was just seeing how many fish we can end up with. 118, including all the eggs. Kind of nice. Oh, how many we got in the breeding pool? We should have somewhere between 2 to 3. Yep, 3 at the moment. Nice. If I was doing this again, I'd probably make the breeding pool a bit bigger so I could fit in 4 to 5 fish comfortably. That way I could increase the breeding rate because I'm going through the algae just a little bit too slowly for my liking. Now, how are we looking here on everything? I think we're just about all caught up. We'll deconstruct some of these. There we go. And then once those are deconstructed and we have clear avenues, we can actually start on the next section. Yeah, what? Then I put a bridge there. You know what? I'm just going to mimic them. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Nope, nope, nope. Let's not overwrite those pipes just yet. Let's wait until they're deconstructed. All right, I'll just fast forward a bit and I'll come back to you once we've got some of these pipes ready to go. Okay, we've got all those other construction projects complete. So let's wipe this out and let's rebuild the whole sucker. Let's do it properly this time. We'll whip that to about there. Now, this should be much faster because I've actually prepared it a little bit better this time. Gas bridge. Is this going to work? Yeah, it should. For these, I've actually switched to sedimentary rock. I have a lot more sedimentary rock available. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. And there we've already got oxygen already flowing to the first 3 suits. This is going to take a little bit of time to catch up with the downtime down here. These ones will be much quicker because I was a little bit more, I planned a little bit better ahead there. And that will go out to there. Okay, so while all that's going on, let's just have a quick look over at the power over here, or the this little system here. Now you notice I'm immediately getting all the hydrogen. I'm just dumping it straight into these hydrogen generators. This is why I've got those battery banks there. This giant battery bank down here, basically notice it's not maxing out. Any excess natural gas, any excess hydrogen that's burnt off, we've got space. We have a lot of space to dump it in. Because the petrol generators don't kick in, I think it's 50 to 65%. Well, they cut out at 65%, which means we've got 35% battery power constantly, always sitting there waiting for us. That means we don't have to worry. We've got excess space, so all of this hydrogen will never be wasted. It'll get dumped onto the grid and will be used. The only time it will start actually being wasted is when we switch to, say, solar power, and solar power might actually fill up our batteries the whole way, and then it would be a waste. But this battery bank just makes sure none of the hydrogen's a waste, none of the natural gas is a waste, all ends up being useful. And because of the nice little design of this system, we don't have any of this hydrogen gas ending up in our oxygen flow. And I've tested this, and actually, I'll show you the test map at the end. But for the time being, I just want to get a few other bits and bobs done. Let's see, how are we looking over here? We all done? Yeah, we're all done. Look, those suits are already fully stocked already. These ones will catch back up in a bit. Now, these ones have got priority over here. The first 4 suits in every rack have priority. I don't really mind too much. Works either way. So I'm going to have to build an exosuit forge. Where am I going to throw that down? In fact, where do I even have power for one of these? Stations, is it, or utilities? Stations, yeah, exosuit forge. Yeah, we'll throw down one over here. Make it out of, actually, gold. Oh, wow, our gold is kind of getting out of control. That must be the gold volcano. Power, that's going to take, how much power? 480 watts. Okay, where do I have 480 watts of free power lying around? How are you looking? You've got 320, but you're hooked up to the oxygen diffusers. 1, 2, yeah, there's several oxygen diffusers plugged in there. That means I've got plenty of power to spare on that wire. Oh, and another little thing I did just to simplify things. You'll notice these mesh tiles here underneath the entrances. This is for when duplicants show up and they've had an accident. If duplicants have had an accident, when they take off their suits, they're going to drop the P they ended up on their suit will end up dropping straight down. So by having mesh tiles beneath them here, that will just drop straight down here, and all that germy polluted water I just dump straight into a thimble reed. It's just a simple way of making sure that any accidents that show up don't end up falling across my base. They just go straight down and they're gone. Done and dusted. I even stuck in a deodorizer just in case so much was dropped that this couldn't handle it. So this can eat 160 kilos of polluted water a cycle. So unless I have 160 kilos of polluted water of an accident, highly, highly, highly unlikely, I should be fine. Now we're going to need 8 more atmospheres. Yeah, we'll just queue up 8 of those. That should be no time at all. All the duplicants have insanely high skills. Now, for down here, utilities. Actually, what's this going to do to my power line? We're slightly over, but some of that is for these emergency coal generators, and these things will only draw power for very brief periods of time. If we look here, power consumed, 360 is the most I've seen. There's no way that's getting up to 2 kilowatts. You could run, you could probably run almost 50 of these on one 2 kilowatt wire, probably more. Now, if I do start having overloads, I can just run another wire, although I'll have to build another battery bank. Atmosuit docks. We will make you out of gold because we have so much of it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Damn it, I always get one misaligned. Does anyone have that problem where you're putting down statues and you'll always end up going one square up at one point and trying to build them in midair? Happens to me so often. Atmosuit dock. And this should be fairly simple. Ventilation. I'm also going to have to feed the overflow ventilation back into my base. That could get a little. I think I might stick with this 2-layer one here. But at the same time, when I'm sticking with the 2-layer one, I'm going to combine the 3 pipes into 2. There shouldn't be that much excess left over. Now, we will deconstruct a little bit of this just to get out of the way. Nope, cancel all that. Deconstruct you. I'll have to replace you at some point, I know, but for now. Now, bridges. Yeah, one there. And which dock do we want to have priority? Actually, which ones are used more? Okay, the downstairs one are used more. You know what? In that case, I'll make sure the downstairs ones get priority on this oxygen flow. Yeah, so one there, second one there. And done. So once those 8 suits are complete, whoa, okay, those 8 suits. Wait, did they just make 8 suits? Gotta give it to those dupes. They've skilled up a lot. So, okay, now we have actually the capacity to run 16 duplicates. Or not 16, 24. So I'm gonna have to stick in another bedroom. I've already done some renovations here. We're gonna have to dismantle all this junk that's here though. So what's that? That is the conveyor receptacle for meat and polluted dirt from my fish farm. Hmm. Hmm. You know what? I'll just leave it there. It can get manual access. We will deconstruct you. All you can go. We'll also have to deconstruct you. These 2 statues. We'll put in a couple of doors, stick in 4 bunks. We'll be good to go. And then we can hire another 4 duplicates. Actually, no. I'll need another. I'm going to need another dining hall. Yeah, come on, dupes, finish that off. I suppose those things don't have high priority. Those liveries. 6. Yeah, let's set all those to 6. I want those suits delivered. Now, let's finish off this bedroom. I want all these. I want to have the capacity to hire duplicates the very next moment that an actual printable session is finished. Now, since our base is heating up, or will be heating up, I'm just going to switch straight to art. 4 paintings, done and dusted. I'll probably rip out the plants in a bit as well. Actually, I'm going to have to put in another dining hall. Each one supports 6, so 6, 12, 18. I can support 18. Another 6 will allow me to support 24. Pneumatic doors. Let's get rid of you, actually. You won't fit in there. And then fill in the rest of the basic furniture. I mean, these things are... I've made so many of these at this point, it's pretty much second nature. 1, 2, 3. Damn, that's glowy. And last up, we are going to want a water cooler. Nice. Open. Open before someone tells me to do all of that. You also open, and you open. Those are some industrious dupes. How's the oxygen looking over here? Yeah, that's going to take a while to fill them up for the first time, but thankfully we have time. Now, I'm going to hook these up to the rest of the oxygen grid, and I'm not even going to bother insulating the pipes. How am I going to do this? Ooh, you know what? I will run this over here, and see, I want to split it. I want to have this be one line, this be the second line, and this one to split off between the 2. So this will go up to here. Then I'll probably have that feed into that one. This will come down here and feed into this one. Actually, yeah, this is a lot simpler if I just do it that way. And this, I can just do it this way. Oh, I don't know what button was hit there, but that wasn't the right one. Okay. So this gas line coming in through here is going to split off. Half of it's going to go down here, which will feed into this bottom line. The other half is going to go up here, which will feed into this top line. And then I'll have 2 lines of whatever oxygen is not required by these that will be dumped off into the base. I'm going to have to, of course, switch around a bunch of bridges, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Then I'm going to have to cut off the oxygen from over this side. Now, I'm not going to cut off the oxygen from over there first. I'm going to set up some cooling. I am going to cool this entire base, and it shouldn't take me more than a couple of cycles to get it all done. First, I'll just let my duplicates finish off building the new bedroom and the bathroom. That's 4 extra dupes we can hold in there. And I'm also going to want to prepare for the next 4. So, you know what? Let's get that started. Sedimentary rock, please. And we will dig this sucker out. Ooh, I'm going to have to also drop all that water out of there. Mm. Yeah, not going to dig all that out just yet. Yeah, to there's fine. I just want to seal this in so then I can start decontaminating this and getting rid of the polluted oxygen, or getting rid of the germs inside the polluted oxygen. Now, with all of that flowing along, I don't want to actually disconnect my other supply on the other side until these have all caught up and everything's full. I want all of these suits full. You notice the new suits, they take a long time to fill, even with a whole kilo of oxygen going in here. That's like a full solid kilo of oxygen going in. Nope, there's the odd packet that's a little bit too small. What are we missing? See, you can see the odd missing packet. What's going on here? Oh, it's messed up. Oh no, that thing's actually going pretty flat out. We're looking at 250, 450. Yeah, no, this is exactly as it should be configured. Why are these ones only kicking in intermittently? Oh, these are kicking in intermittently because they're actually full. This one is not full. This one is full, so it's pulling only from the right side. It's still, actually no, it's still solid. That's all 1 kilo packets going along there. Every single one of those packets is 1 kilo. That is exactly what we want. And the hydrogen's been burned off from having none accumulate. Okay, I'm going to call this a successful. I'm going to call this a successful job. Now we're just going to stick in a quick cooling solution. And for a cooling solution, we are just going to use this down here. This water tank down here is basically just a giant icebox in its own way. Oh, I want to actually seal this up. And let me grab some insulated tiles there. We'll go with sedimentary rock. And we'll insert you there. And I'll insert you there. Oh, and I have no ladder system to get up there, do I? You know what? Make that out of sedimentary rock as well. I have so much sedimentary rock. I ate most of the, or my hatches ate most of the igneous. Alright, so we're going to actually run some cooling from here to the rest of the base. That's why I don't care about this 70-degree oxygen coming in right now. I could run the 70-degree oxygen through this and cool it down. Well, use this steam turbine setup to cool it down. But I'm going to cool down my base anyway, so why bother running extra piping and extra distance? Alright, 1 second. But before I get on with that, I want to go back to the oil biome because there is something I've been meaning to do for ages and I forgot about it, and that is put in an overflow system for this. And this is very, very important, but very, very simple. Hydro sensor and then automation wire. Now, I ripped up a bunch of the abyssalite here and replaced it with insulated tiles. I didn't rip up here because that turns out has a drop of crude oil there. I'm going to have to grab that from the outside, so I didn't complete it on. But the only reason I put in these insulated tiles here is so that I can run this automation wire through here. We're going to run along there, right up here, and we're going to plug that into there. That's actually connected up to the 5 petroleum generators. Now, all we're going to do is we're going to set this to, actually, I'll make that a priority 6 just to get it out of the way. We're going to set this so that if the pressure of petroleum in here or liquid in here is, say, 250 kilos, this will send an activation signal up to turn on the petroleum boilers. And the petroleum boilers will kick in for 10 kilos of, well, they can burn 10 kilos of petroleum a second. So they'll quite happily eat whatever's been thrown in here, and that will stop the tank from overflowing. It's just a very, very simple way of making sure no overflow happens. Now you may be wondering, why would I want to burn off all that excess petroleum? Shouldn't I just stop my petroleum boiler? Well, no. This petroleum boiler is actually producing water. For every oil well I've got going through it, I'm making about an extra 0.2 of a kilo of polluted water on top of what I put into the oil well. So turning this off would actually lose me water. So I'm better off actually burning the petroleum than stopping the oil boiler. Now, I never really covered that when I was doing petroleum boiler guides before, but that's very important. That's why I've designed this not to really be stopped. There is some leeway built in to stop this and maintain it, but by and large, you just want to run these forever. That's why it's really nice when you can get it to run off a volcano, because you never stop it, you never have to fill it up, you never have to do anything. It just runs forever and ever and ever. Since the changes, the modifications down here, It seems to be working perfectly fine. I haven't had any clogs, jams, anything like that. And yeah, there's no sour gas in here. That oil droplet is fine. Yeah, seems to be working out perfectly. What's the temperature there? 151. Perfect. So there's no worry about that overheating, overloading. So if the temperature in here is above, say, let's say 250. I think petroleum hits about 750. Yeah, 750 is the max can hit. So if this goes up to 250 kilos of pressure, boom, we burn it off. Simple as that. Oh, and the reason I have so many bottle emptiers here, when I was cleaning up the oil biome, I did the same thing for the petroleum as I did for the crude oil. I put in lots of bottle emptiers. The reason being, if you only have one bottle emptier, your duplicants will get the task, go, okay, I got to pick up bottles, and they have some limit to how many bottles they'll pick up, no matter how big they are. So they'll run over to an area and pick up 3 or 4 bottles of whatever, a kilo a piece, and then they'll run back and drop it off. Then they'll run off and get 2 or 3 more bottles. Then they'll come back. I just put in a whole bunch of bottle emptiers, and then all my duplicants run along and take care of the problem quickly, very quickly, which is what I want. Now, uh, once that automation is complete, we are going to set up a simple cooling loop. Now, since this icebox is already here, it's basically deleting any heat that ends up in here. It was meant to be the whole tank, but I split it in half because I wanted the overcrowded tank and then the breeding tank. However, I couldn't put in mesh tiles here. Mesh tiles here actually joins the 2 rooms together, and that was causing problems, so I eventually just switched to diamond window tiles. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to make an enormous cooling loop. Where are we going to run this? Actually, you are going to be in my way. What are you made out of? You know what? It doesn't matter what you're made out of. We'll make you out of granite, and we'll run you down through here. Yeah. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to run cooling loops out like, say, where's this water pipe going up the middle? Yeah, the water pipe's going up there. We're going to say here. So we're going to run a granite cooling loop out like this, and then back in. Then we'll have a bridge across, and we'll run the exact same loop out. Oh, actually, there's fine. Back up. And this is going to continue. I'm going to do this on every single level. The reason being, I'm going to pump water from here through this cooling loop. It's going to go all the way around, and it'll be a closed loop system. You know the loop systems we use, like this one over here? See the central one here that's just going around and around in a circle? It's going to be one of those, except it's going to be much, much, much larger. It's going to span the entire base. And we're just going to fill it up with cold water from this tank, and then it's going to rotate through here in some radiant piping, and that radiant piping is going to soak up the chill. Any heat that ends up in here will get deleted by our steam turbine, and that will chill our entire base, top to bottom. We won't even have to care. Now, let's get this prioritized first so I can actually get the groundwork done on this. Plumbing, and we're going to radiant pipes. So I'm going to want one set of radiant pipes to go. I want them to be either side of this thermal shift plates. I've ran a line of thermal shift plates right down the middle. You can't really see them there because all the fish are in the way, but you can see there's a row of thermal shift plates all the way along here to try and spread out the chill. So I'm going to use that to help with the making sure that this doesn't overheat ever. Now, how are my duplicants? I don't think my duplicants can get to this pipe segments, can they? Liquid pipe. Oh no, they can make it. There's a maximum depth duplicants can go to in water. After that, they don't seem to be able to build. I had problems in a previous game. I had this tank filled up to about here, and my duplicants couldn't get to the. Well, they could run straight down a ladder, but they couldn't move more than one tile either side. That was it. It was a weird mechanic I hadn't encountered before. Plumbing. That's all done. Deconstruct you. Oh, do I want to deconstruct that? It's going to let out a little bit of water, but I can live with that. So plumbing. Radiant pipe. Actually, no, I'll put the radiant pipe along here. And have a bridge to hop over, and then there we go. Now for up here, we're going to want granite. How about we bridge in? More granite. We're going to be using granite for all of this. Not because it's an amazing conductor, it's just very cheap and an okay conductor. It's pretty much the best thing you can say about it is it's okay. Here, You know what? I'm just going to line out the bridges now. It'll save a bunch of time later. We are so skipping the bathrooms. That is just way too complicated to try and chill those down. I'll put you there. And that's enough of that. Now, opposite side. Oh, yeah. This is going to be a little bit more interesting. Eh, hmm. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, I've also made a few changes down here. This is the carbon skimmer. I just moved it down a layer, and I removed the pool that was used to store the polluted water, and instead I'm just piping it directly into the thimble reed. This can't produce enough water to actually keep this thing going anyway, so not really a big deal. Yeah, plumbing. More piping. Now, I don't actually want to cool too much the oxygen suits or the Atmos suits. Anything that ends up in there is basically just uh, any oxygen that ends up in there is basically consumed by the dupes while they're in it, so I don't really care if I cool it down too much. Now I'm just making these out of all regular pipes, and I'm not even extending the cooling loops too far. I don't need to. A lot of these areas are unpopulated anyway. I just want to make sure the whole base is nice and chill. Well, 25 degrees. Once we get into space, we're going to start bringing back space artifacts, and they're usually very hot, namely because I end up launching my rockets again before I remove the space artifacts, and the exhaust from the space rocket or the exhaust from the engine usually superheats them, and I'm bringing in, 800 degree pieces of space souvenirs. Slightly embarrassing. Now, almost done. Now, granite being not great at giving away its heat, it's still pretty good. How are we going to do this? Actually, I'll put in this liquid bridge here. At some point, I'm going to expand into that room as well. So why not have the piping ready to go? For here, we'll just go straight across, I suppose. Actually, why not up here? Ooh. Yeah, might as well. I can always use plumbing if I need to. And same again. Okay, all that's queued up. That will take them at least a cycle or two to sort that out. Once that's all done, I'm just going to pump a bunch of water into it. Just from, well, right down here. I'll just, oh, is that not connected? I thought I connected that. What's that saying? Pipe blocked? Oh, no, that's fine. Radiant pipes. I think I'm missing one radiant pipe right here. Yeah, that right there. Oh, yeah, perfect. Now, how are we looking on our fish front? 126. Nice. Okay, I'm just going to cut forward until I fill this, and then I think we'll leave it there. We've got our oxygen coming in right now. That is a nice dense looking oxygen grid. Once this is up and running and the cooling is in place, I can basically dismantle everything over here. Everything. This is all going to go. There's nothing I need over here anymore. I might even just pop. Actually, no, I'm going to keep the chlorine tank. I don't want to let that chlorine loose again. It took too much effort to get it in the first place. But all this is going to go. The whole bunch of it. I'm going to seal the base off on this side. All gone. Because all our oxygen needs will be supplied from, from our main production plant. All right, so I'll just leave it here. Be back to you there in one moment. Oh, forgot to check the new spawns and nothing I want here. I basically want supply, suits, or research because I'm looking for a few astronauts. I could also do with another dead dog's body, stuff like that, but most of these are pretty terrible. Flatulent I don't want, allergies I don't want. Small bladder is okay, but ranch and build, they're just not really good at anything at all. Yeah, we'll put the seeds. But yeah, I'll just skip forward a bit more until this cooling loop is ready to be activated. Ooh, actually, I got a good question from Sky Kai, Skikei. They were wondering why I don't use the sieve with my bathroom loop, as in send my polluted water through a sieve and then you send the clean water right back into the toilets. It doesn't kill the germs, but germy polluted water is perfectly acceptable in sinks and toilets and showers, I believe. So you can just use use this to actually generate water, about 5.5, or is it 6.5 kilos of water per duplicant per cycle every time they use the bathroom. And if you're really sneaky, you can actually have your duplicants use the bathroom twice in a cycle by setting them to go to the bathroom when they're at by setting them to bathroom breaks. Once they hit 40% bladder, they're able to go to the bathroom at that point. However, I don't bother. I have so much water coming in, and plus, right now I don't have to deal with any germy polluted dirt. Uh, I suppose it'd be all right if I did it over here, but if you are sending polluted water with germs in it through a sieve, the sieve gets infected with germs, and the polluted dirt that comes out has germs. Normally, I have so much water, I'm not willing, or I'm not bothered putting up with it. It is handy if you're running showers, then you definitely need to do something like that because the showers do consume an enormous amount of water. I just don't bother with showers. Actually, if we check my consumables here, yeah, my dupes are looking at about 30 morale, give or take. Yeah, some of them run, the ones that run 42 is because of the Pacu barbecue ridiculousness that's currently going on. But all my dupes will have about 30 morale. I'm quite happy with that. I don't need to work on getting them any higher, and I'll be switching them all to barbecue later in the game, which means they'll all be on about 40 plus morale. So shower's not worth it for me, and sieving the water, well, it might cut down on my water consumption. I've never really had any water problems, you might have noticed. And why is that not hooked up yet? You know what? Let's make that a priority 6. Perfect. But yeah, that's why I don't use a bathroom sieve. But if you're really trying to skimp on water and you're someone who's using a lot of crops, then yeah, that's definitely a way to make sure your water supply lasts a little bit longer. For me, I just dump it into reed fiber. Now, another question from Salam was, why don't I just have an internet dumper for food? As in, there's several ways you can do it where you just have the food drop down and you can just basically drop it in a CO2 pit instead of using fridges. Now, I used that for a while. I just didn't like it. I ended up having huge stockpiles of food, but like if you'll notice here, I've got a bunch of stuff here that should probably be recycled. Like this meal lice, I've had this since the start of the game, and it's been sitting in CO2 for 400 plus cycles, and it's actually starting to go stale in there. So let's compost that. Anything else in here? Oh, lice loaf, that can also go. I just don't like accumulating a bunch of stuff I'm never going to use. There's a couple of gristleberries in there. Oh, more lice loaf. You know what? You can also go. Anything else left in here that we don't need? More meal lice. This is the thing. I don't want all this stuff in here. I want it actually gone. I would prefer to know exactly what I have and know that I'm actually producing enough food to keep up with where I'm going. Now, what are we left with? More piping needs to be done up here. This is all made out of granite. Oh, I also need to get rid of the. Is that 5 tiles high? I made that 5 tiles high, didn't I? Yeah, that was a mistake. Let's make this out of sedimentary rock. Better. And now let's all start decontaminating that oxygen, because I'm pretty sure there's a whole lot of germs in there. And a hatch. Okay. You know, don't want that hatch in there. I'm actually tempted to go kill that now, but you know what? I think I'll let it live. Yeah, deconstruct all of you. And maybe put, ooh, yeah, you know what? I'm going to put a ladder up here. A few ladder segments. I just want to get this all sealed up and good to go. Because at some point I'm going to have to add in another 4 duplicants. So I'll just stick in another bedroom up here. And I already have the kitchens in place to take care of them. But yeah, that's the only reason I don't stockpile food. It can be a good idea. In fact, if you really want, you could stockpile huge quantities of food and then stop producing food and live off it. I just prefer to produce as much as I need, and I'd rather know if I'm starting to go up or down in food supply so I know to add more stables or do whatever. It's really more of a personal preference than anything else. Now, oh, was it a Stratageum? Was asking me about my battery boxes over here. Now, I built my battery box a bit early, and they're right, it was a little bit too early to be building it. You do want to get one of these up though when you're about to tap into natural gas or have any, if you're going to be dumping excess power onto your grid, good idea to get your hands on these sooner, well, just as you do, so that way you have somewhere to store the power. For example, these hydrogen generators, they're just dumping energy on right now. As you can see from the batteries here, they're just floating around this point. That's a combination of hydrogen and probably a little bit of the natural gas coming in. Now, another question that was asked as well, I think this was LTL King. He was on about gas inputs and outputs. You'll notice here on these outputs, I've offset them by 1 from the output. That's because when outputs are coming out, you need 1 tile. If I try to put the output straight across here, what will happen is the output of this one will block the output of that one. If the output CO2 is occupying this tile, this this natural gas generator won't be able to output while that's blocking it. So you need to offset those. But for the inputs they basically overflow. So if this one is taking in natural gas, it'll only burn, I think it's 90 grams of natural gas a second. All the excess will overflow. So actually you can see here the CO2 is spitting out at the same time, so they'll all flood in. Now, so that's why you want to, inputs is fine, outputs, you've got to offset them. Same with the oxygen up here. You'll see I've actually put 2 tiles out so that they meet in the middle. If I didn't do that and I tried to just run 2 outputs across each other, it doesn't work. Leads to horrible problems. It's also why I've got all this crazy piping over there as well. Now, only thing we're missing over here is liquid bridges, which I made out of igneous rock. I've actually consumed an enormous amount of igneous rock. Look at that, I'm down to 768 tons. I've probably gone through about 3,000 tons of this stuff between the hatches eating it and the amount of building projects I've done with insulated pipes. Like all that insulated pipe there is igneous rock. Each one is worth 400 kilos. That's so much igneous rock. Anyway, next up was slicksters. This was a question from Zov, ZHVO, Zovo. And this is to do with why don't I just place my slicksters in my power brick and that way they can consume the CO2 right on the spot. Well, 2 reasons for that. Actually, a couple of reasons for that. No, a couple is 2. More than 1 reason for that. First reason is to keep the slicksters alive, I'd have to keep it above 30 degrees, and that's just for regular slicksters. And I want icy cold water coming out of there. As well as that, if I do put the slicksters in here, I need to put them off to one side because they're going to be giving off petroleum and I don't want it mixing with this stuff down here. And 3, they won't be able to eat all the carbon dioxide. Not a chance. I think with these 2 oil wells, I think each oil well, assuming you convert it all to petroleum and then you take all that petroleum and you can and burn it, I think it can support about 25 slicksters. So I'd need to be running 50 slicksters just to keep up with these 2 oil wells. That excludes all the excess oil I'm going to be burning at the start that's out on the map. So yeah, there's no way you're keeping up with that. Just tough, not a chance. Now, let's check out what's going on back home. Still waiting on those liquid bridges. I'm going to actually have to up the priority on those. Yeah, another one from Bo Cephas. Bo Cephas had a question about, or not a question, he was just telling me he had similar problems to me with the magma dropper, where he was ending up with 3 tiles. Now, I deleted the ladder segment, and the ladder segment solved my problem. Well, so far, I'd like to run it for another couple hundred cycles before I call it fixed. But what he did instead was he put in a buffer gate up here. So what will happen is after this door closes and this one opens, this will only open for 10 seconds. Once it's finished, it will close. And that should leave you with exactly 2 tiles of magma. And that seemed to work for him. He ran it for a couple hundred cycles afterwards, and that also solved his problem. So either delete the ladder segment or put yourself in a buffer gate and close that, and you should be fine. Or do both if you're extremely paranoid. I wouldn't blame you. But yeah, maybe another way to solve the problem if you ever encounter it. Now, and I think we can leave it at that. These are all at 19.9, 19.9. Yeah, if we look in here, you'll see the natural gas in here is down to 91 degrees, and over here it's down to 90. That's because that constant outflow of crude oil is slowly but surely draining all the heat out of it. And now when this stuff vents, even though it's 232 degrees, there's, what, 20 kilos in each tile here? There's an enormous amount of natural gas that it's going to mix with, and that just chills it down so quickly, or cools it down below boiling point so quickly, the water that ends up in this oil well ends up not boiling. Yeah, just really keep an eye out for that, or be very, very, very careful. All right, so I think that covers most of the questions, but I think I'll leave that there for now. Oh, are we ready? I think we are ready to hook this sucker up. Yes, we are. All right, so all I'm going to do is just run a pipe right into, let's see, actually, right there. And that's it. Why is that only putting in tiny packets of water? What's going on here? How did I mess up? That's 2 kilos. It should be 10. Oh, split pipe. My bad. You know what? Let's deconstruct this. Instead, what we'll do is, yeah, we'll run a feeder pipe from somewhere. Yeah, we're going to run a feeder pipe from here. Yeah, that'll allow us to pull the maximum amount of water off and hopefully fill up this grid just a little bit faster. That's going to take forever to fill the grid. Look at that. If we leave it like that, it'll take forever. So, quick bit of a plumbing fix. Granite pipe here. Problem solved. Yeah, I'll just skip forward until that's ready to go. And here we are. It's ready to go. Now, I'll have to keep an eye on this. I want to make sure that I fully fill up the whole cooling loop. And at the same time, I don't want to actually run out of water for my toilets. That would be bad. I don't want my duplicants peeing anywhere. You'll notice here I've got this overhang and mesh tiles. So even if a duplicate pees higher up in the base, it will end up down here. Down here instead of in here. It'll fall through all these mesh. So there's literally no way for them to do it. Unless they actually pee literally in this room, I should be safe. Should. Uh, I'll just speed this up as it goes through it, but this is the basics of it. And I missed a pipe. How? Granite, yeah. I think I'll leave it there. I'll just let the pipe fill up, and once the pipes fill up, I'll cut back in so you can see how the cooling loop is working in action. Okay, so the loop's about to close on itself. If we'll check the water here, the returning water is 28.8 degrees. The outgoing water is 26.1, or 26 degrees. So it's gained over, well, 3 degrees in temperature on its journey. That's every 10 kilos has gained almost 3 degrees in temperature. So once it passes through here, it'll dump off most of that heat here. This steam turbine will happily chow down on it and remove it from the game, at which point the water will spit back out again and do the exact same thing, round and round and round. Now, I did a little bit of rejigging here. I put in, well, the water was running out on this side, and I didn't want my toilets and my carbon skimmer and all that running out of water, so I basically have this giving it a primary flow, and the overflow gets dumped into the cooling loop. Once the cooling loop is full, I'll remove it, but there's no problem leaving it there for a while anyway. I've got a bit of a gap somewhere in the loop. Whoa, okay, that's getting a bit choppy. Also, putting in this giant cooling loop is not going to help my frame rate at all either. Slight negative to building one of these. At the same time, you can see there, yeah, it's perfect. It'll just cool down the entire base. So, yeah, this place is the hottest over here because that's where we were dumping lots of igneous rock. But already you can see everything's in the, like over here, it's down to 28 degrees already. Before this used to be all, well, there, as you can see, that's in the 30s. But once I let this run for another 20, 100 cycles, this will all be nice and chill. And also help cool down my cooking area, which has gotten a little bit toasty. Yeah, very simple way of doing a cooling loop. Now, let's check out what the gate has provided us with today. Mouth breather, no thank you. Gastrophobia and lead sleeper, those I can do with. Care and cook, no thank you. Supply, tidy, and dig. Supply I can live with. See, the thing is, I want to turn these into researchers. And if we look at the skills here, this is suit wearing, which will save me 3 points. Is it? Yeah, 3 points. This is astronomy, which will save me, well, or advanced research. If they have research, it'll save me 3 points. Suit wearing will save me 3 points of morale. And tidy will save me 2 points. Or is it supply? I think it's supply. Yeah, tidy is this one. So if they have supply, research, or suit wearing, it will save me on a few points. Did any of them have that? I don't think they did. Oop. Supply, tidy. Okay, so this one had supply and tidy. So this one would save me 2 points. Might actually be worth it. You know what? You can be Astro 1. And now I just got to lock them in the base, stick them on a treadmill, and basically start training them up. Wow. Astro 1, you are by default locked in. Actually, I don't have to change any of that. It's only up here I have to change, so we will change you to allowed. Astro 1 is now allowed in. Okay, get to your training duplicate. We're going to put you on a different schedule. Oh god, I forgot I'm going to have to do all this again. Wait a minute. I have left someone on the wrong schedule. Oh my god. Dog's Body out 2, Dig Dug 4, and Astro 1. Okay, that was really bad. You're going to have to all go to schedule 4. You extras. So you are going to go to schedule 4. Dog's buddy out 2, also schedule 4. Damn, I cannot believe I left that for that long. And you are going to be to schedule 5. Yeah, we've just got room for another schedule as well, so we can add on another bunch of duplicates. As for food, wild food in Paku, well, the Paku more than anything else is basically swamping me in calories. I'm full of omelets. In fact, omelets are rotting at the moment. I think they're ending up on the ground. If we check here, I actually have a refrigerator with 100 kilos of omelets in it. I'm letting the rest just lie on the ground and go off. I don't care about them. I prefer to let them rot and be turned into dirt or something else. It's just not worth the effort of keeping them around. And okay, so I think I'm going to cut this one out here, but first I'm going to pop over to the test map where I can show you a few more details about this oxygen setup, just to maybe calm anyone's mind on whether or not they have any worries about this messing up or failing. I just want to show you some of the testing I did to make sure it would be rock solid. And if we check out here, you'll see it's filled up all our atmosuit docks. Everything's ready to go. Next episode, I'm going to have to do some minor modifications here. Actually, I think I can do these minor modifications now. All I have to do is reverse this bridge here and yeah, reverse this bridge here. Once I reverse these two bridges, I should actually have this done. You know what? Let's get that out of the way with now. So reverse those two bridges, deconstruct gas pipe here. This one hooks in there. Ooh, you know what? Those don't go anywhere, do they? No, these don't feed oxygen into anywhere else. So I can just remove that segment there. Grab a gas bridge. We'll go with sedimentary rock, something I have the most of at the moment. So I'll put one gas bridge there, one gas bridge there, and that's it plugged into the rest of my system. And that should get the oxygen flowing again. Then I can dismantle the rest of these oxygen pipes. In fact, I can dismantle everything on the left-hand side of on the right-hand side of the base. That can all go. Let's see. And there the oxygen starts flowing again. Actually, that was extremely painless. We're now running entirely off our new oxygen generation supply. And how's this running over here? Okay, that. Damn it. Minor mistake with gas flows. Okay, so we'll put you there and we'll deconstruct that. Yet the problem here is this this output is trying to get into that input. So I really needed to have a green output in the way to stop it from doing that. That will force the oxygen along here and make sure it all goes out this side. Yeah, so there we go. Now it's flowing. And that's going to combine any excess that flows across here. That's probably, oh, same problem down here. Put that there and deconstruct that. Okay, that should get us, actually that's still, even with that modification, that was still extremely painless to do. Yeah, perfect. Okay, I'll just have to double check this. I'll probably do that off screen to make sure. What about these? These are not actually hooked up, are they? Oh no, that has to back up before it's going to overflow the sides. And how we do it? Yeah, we're going to back up shortly. We're able to pump out 3 kilos of oxygen and we only have 17 dupes. 17 dupes will need 1.7 kilos, so we have plenty of excess oxygen to spare. The whole system's going to be saturated right about now. There we go. Done. I'll just pop over to the test map. I'll show you what the oxygen generation supply looks like on that one and some of the testing that was done to make sure this will run flawlessly, or should theoretically run flawlessly. Oh, one very important thing to note. It's very useful for gas pumps. You see this cross-shaped symbol here? That's vacuum. And that is actually where the gas pump draws in gas. So these 4 tiles here are where it actually absorbs gas from. These tiles up here, it doesn't absorb them from there. That gas has to move into one of these other 4 tiles before it's picked up. So if I let this play a bit, you'll see sometimes those other tiles will sort of fill in. Yep, like that. That's how you know so those 4 tiles based on the bottom left one to the above it, below it, left and right of it, they're where the gas is actually sucked in. Yeah, back to you in 1 second. So this is where I tested out the design. Unfortunately, I let it go as autosaves and I just overwrote them all, so I just threw one together again really quickly. What I did here was, this originally, the gas pump was down here inside this area, but as I mentioned before, this cross-shaped draw area where it actually pulls out gases, it seemed to be affecting these two gas pumps down here. The hydrogen pressure in here was getting too high, it was causing these to overpressurize too much, and it was cutting down on the amount of oxygen we were able to pull out of the system. Now, to make sure this wasn't going to mess up, I made a few tests. First thing I did was I would disconnect the power from the electrolyzers, and when I did that, gas pressures evened out about here anyway, and when I started it back up again, no hydrogen was sucked at the bottom, no oxygen was sucked at the top. Second thing I did was I also disconnected the power I reconnected the electrolyzers and then just disconnected the power to the gas pumps. And with the gas pumps disconnected, it settled at the exact same rate, it settled in the exact same way. And then when I plugged the gas pumps back in, it kicked off again, no hydrogen, and ended up going out where it shouldn't. And as you can see here, there's nothing but hydrogen up the top, nothing but oxygen coming out down the bottom. So those tests just ensured that I wasn't getting something going somewhere it shouldn't have. So I didn't need to put in any filters or anything like that, which is very important when you're trying to make one of these systems, when you're trying to save a bit of power. Now, next thing I did after that was, well, after moving this gas pump up here, I had to move it up here because I wanted to make sure I was getting enough power out of the system every cycle. And to check that, we just used the reports. Now, when it comes to the reports here, you'll see oxygen generation 1782. That's a little bit low, actually. Yeah, I just booted this system up. So 1,800 kilos would mean I was getting 3 kilos of oxygen per second. I won't quite get that. There will be a slight bit of a cutoff. This pipe here is going to occasionally pump out only 700 grams. There, switch to 800 there just for a split second. So it does lose just a tiny little bit of oxygen. So we don't quite get the full 3 kilos per second. However, if we look at the reports again, this is a full day's oxygen production and we're 10 kilos short. A duplicate consumes 60 kilos in a day. This means I definitely have enough oxygen to support 29 duplicates. In fact, if if I have 30 duplicates and one of them's got diver's lung, that reduces their oxygen consumption by 25%. So, about 15 kilos. So long as I'm getting 1,785 kilos, I could have 30 duplicates so long as one of them had diver's lung. If any more of them have diver's lung, then it's just gravy. So this is a good way to get an awful lot of oxygen in a very small, compact, and efficient little setup. And very robust. Like I said, you can turn bits of it on and off and it will still keep functioning. For example, here, we're just going to disconnect one of these over here. We'll disconnect, say, this. We'll deconstruct that conductive wire. And if you'll notice, all the pumps have switched off and the hydrogen has stayed up here. And then if we reconnect this, should pause it before we reconnect it, and then turn it back on again. No oxygen leaks at the top, no hydrogen leaks at the side, and it just goes back to functioning away as normal. Now, if we disconnect the power from the gas pumps, these things will shut off after a while once they've released enough gas pressure. All good. Now, the settings on these, pretty simple. The Atmos sensors up here are set to 250. These ones here are set to 450. That's it. 250 for the top, 450 for the bottom. That's the automation setup for both of them. This one runs these three, this one runs these three. But realistically, these only count when it gets switched off or when it's overpressurized, as in there's no way the gas can get out. This is more about controlling the bottom pumps. This one up here, this is more about controlling how quickly the hydrogen is evacuated. If we let too much hydrogen pressure builds up here, it stifles these, slows down production. And this design is by no means min-maxed. I'm sure there could be a few tweaks that could be made to this to maybe squeeze out those last few kilos. But as we can see from the last report, where was it? Yeah, 10 kilos short. I mean, I can live with 29 duplicates. I'm quite happy with that. Now, I'd like to, again, thank Nicolas Rodriguez for this, because I tried taking a shot at this a few times and I could never get one to work quite right. This design, very simple, very efficient, does the job quite well. Oh, one last test I did as well. I set these to varying speeds. Like I set this to 800 grams, 400 grams, 300 grams. And I basically played around if I was drawing more oxygen from one side than the other, just to see if it would cause any issues. I blocked two sides entirely. For example, if we just say block these two sides off, we'll block off you, and we'll block off you. And you'll notice it still keeps running fine. So you can draw 1 kilo of oxygen out of here, 2 or 3. You can draw them from any sections. makes no difference. This system will quite happily go along. Actually, wait, we'll make it really awkward and we'll take them from the middle as well. So even drawing from here and here, still working just fine. I will include this save up with the upload so you can download this and play around with it yourself, do some testing just if you want to for your own safety, peace of mind. And I'll also include the save game file from the game. Now do bear in mind, this is still, I wouldn't call this rock solid. I haven't run this in a real life scenario for 200 cycles, which I'd consider, I don't consider it rock solid and it's been run for a few hundred cycles and hasn't encountered any issues. But from what I can see, it's quite stable, quite promising. I think worst case scenario, another tweak or two, and this might be my go-to oxygen design from now on. This can be made with all gold amalgam. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Anyway, before I start ranting on about this too much, I think I'll cut this out here. So I hope you enjoyed, and good luck.